Long ago, in the mountains of Korea, there lived a poor woodcutter. Every day, he climbed the mountains to gather firewood and sell it in the village. Although he worked very hard, he remained poor and lived alone. One day, while walking through the forest, he heard a strange cry. A frightened deer came running toward him. The deer looked terrified.
Please help me! A hunter is chasing me!
The kind woodcutter hid the deer behind some bushes. Moments later, a hunter arrived.
Did you see a deer run this way?
No, I didn't.
The hunter searched for a while but eventually left. The deer stepped out from hiding.
Thank you for saving my life!
The woodcutter smiled.
You're welcome.
The deer looked at him carefully.
You are kind. I would like to repay you.
The deer led the woodcutter deep into the mountains. Eventually, they arrived at a beautiful pond.
Tonight, fairy maidens will come down from the sky to bathe in this pond.
The woodcutter listened carefully.
If you hide one maiden's magical robe, she won't be able to return to heaven.
The deer pointed to a nearby tree.
Hide the robe there!
The deer then disappeared into the forest. That evening, several beautiful maidens descended from the sky. They placed their feather robes beside the pond and entered the water. The woodcutter quietly hid one robe. When the maidens finished bathing, they put on their robes and flew back to heaven. But one maiden could not find hers. She searched everywhere.
My robe is gone.
The other maidens had already disappeared into the clouds. The fairy maiden began to cry. The woodcutter stepped forward.
Please don't be afraid.
The fairy maiden looked at him. The woodcutter explained what had happened. Having no way to return to heaven, the fairy maiden stayed on earth. In time, the woodcutter and the fairy maiden married. Years passed. They built a happy home and had children together. The family lived happily for many years. One day, the fairy maiden asked,
Did you ever see my robe?
The woodcutter remembered the hidden robe. At last, he showed it to her. The moment the fairy maiden touched the robe, her eyes widened.
My heavenly robe.
She gently put it on. Immediately, a magical light surrounded her. The fairy maiden began rising into the sky. Their children cried, Mother, don't leave us! The fairy maiden held her children tightly. Then she lifted them into her arms. Together, they rose toward the clouds. The woodcutter watched in shock. Soon, they disappeared into heaven. He was left standing alone. One day, the deer returned.
I will help you one last time.
The deer told him about a magical horse that traveled between heaven and earth. Following the deer's instructions, the woodcutter climbed onto the horse. The horse soared into the sky. At last, he reached heaven and reunited with his wife and children. The family was happy to see him again. But heaven was not a place for humans. After some time, the woodcutter wished to visit Earth once more. He mounted the magical horse and began the journey home. However, during the trip, he looked down. The horse stumbled. The woodcutter fell from the sky. According to the legend, he landed on Earth and was never able to return to heaven again. Some people say he became a rooster. That is why roosters crow at dawn, looking toward the sky and calling for heaven.